Good evening, guys. Welcome back to another video. 5 things that we learned from Manchester City's 2-1 win away at Molineux yesterday. Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but it was important. We got the victory. That is literally all that matters. So this is going to be a deep dive into what that game actually means for City in the long term. It's more a case of looking at 5 talking points from that game and trying to take something from that and discuss what we learned from that in particular. Now, of course, there is loads of talking points always. Yeah, there's so much going on with City that it's very hard to dive into all of it, but these are the first things that I wanted to talk about. Do me a favour if you don't mind, please give the video a like, please subscribe, please feel free to get in the chat, be it live or after the video is finished recording, and argue the nonsense with me if you want to. Let me know your opinions. These are just mine, doesn't mean I'm right, it's just things that I've took from it personally, and I do appreciate your input always because it is appreciated. I want to start this video by saying that even though there's sort of reasonably negative connotations for a lot of these topics, I still think it's worth remembering where Manchester City are currently unbeaten, 1 point off top of the table, without De Bruyne, without Ake, without Oscar Bob, of course no Rodri, but 3 of those will hopefully return very soon. I think City have been in a pretty good shape, all things considered. So it's one of those things where I am not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and lose my head. And I'm not going to lose the perspective that it is only the 8th game of the Premier League season. And we're in a good position. And we are a net positive 3 points on these fixtures compared to last season. So I want to get all those things out of the way before anyone gets too frustrated about me being negative. But I do think there are serious things to talk about. So even though we're in a good position technically, and we got the win, and there are, Johnny Stones, legend, blah, blah, blah. I think there's still things to talk about. I'm going to start here with that City's midfield issues persist. I do think we have midfield problems. If I was to ask you right now, and there's people watching this video live, and please reply quickly, what Manchester City's best midfield, strongest midfield would be, is everyone's fit, what would you say it is? I want to know what you think in the chat, what you think it would be. I would argue pretty much no one would choose Gundogan, Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, if everyone's fit. I think pretty much 0 people would choose that as City's best midfield. I don't think even 2 of them would probably start in it if you were to choose the best midfield with everyone fit. MH96 said Rodri, Foden, KDB. Michael said Rodri, Foden, Silva. Rodri, Foden, KDB. Yeah, basically, a lot of people are saying what I would suggest. At least 2 of them, Rodri, Foden, KDB seems to be the thing. So the reason I asked that question is because we are without, right now, for various reasons, I would say City's strongest midfield, full stop. The Rodri's not there. De Bruyne's got a persistent injury, and Foden, there's something going on there. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to speculate wildly. I don't think anything's going on with Guardiola and Foden. I think there is possibly something going on in general with Foden. But I think it's just life, I would guess there's life going on, and I'm not worried about it. I think he'll be back. But for one reason or another, the 3 players they're missing, I would say, are the ones that you want starting if City are at the very best. And the reason it's the best is Rodri is the best midfielder in the world. Rodri brings positional intelligence, he brings strength, he wins headers, he knows exactly where to be to stop counters. Even though we weren't great at it, he's still better than the current setup. He brings creativity, he brings those diagonals to the back post which break down so many teams, he brings goals, he brings brilliance, he brings leadership. Rodri is the complete package. De Bruyne is the greatest creator in the world, still probably. He's the best passer in the world. Phil Foden brings 25 goals in the Premier League season, intricacy in tight spaces, energy from the press, and genius. So you've got all that lost, and you've got Bernardo Silva, a workhorse, brilliant player. You've got Kovacic, a good functional player, and you've got Gundogan, who's a genius player, but also he's either one or 2 things. Gundogan, he's not fully adapted yet, or he can't adapt because he's a bit older. We don't know yet, and I think that time will solve that. But for whatever reason, Gundogan isn't the Gundogan that we need right now. And I think Gundogan at his very best anyway would still struggle in this midfield. Gundogan of 4 years ago, with Bernardo and Kovacic right now around him, would still struggle. Because the issues, in my opinion, are twofold. They can't get back very well, and they can't create very well. So you've got 2 things here. You've got a midfield that cannot run towards their own goal. Threefold, actually. I hate them issues. They can't run towards their own goal because they don't have the physical capabilities. 2, they're not particularly creative players. And 3, they don't have any physical strength. It's a small midfield. So we've got a problem here, And how do we solve it? Look, for one, we need Foden and De Bruyne back in that team. We absolutely do. it's one of those things where we just need them back. And we need to find a defensive structure that works for us somehow. I don't know what it is. I am not a genius here. You know, Nunes made a nice little contribution. You guys know how I feel about Nunes. I don't think he's Manchester City world-class level. I think he's a good player. But right now, I could definitely get behind the argument that Nunes' physicality could be useful. You know, it could be, and he got back to win a challenge against Wolves that they argued was a foul, but I thought it was a pretty good challenge. That, you know, minutes later, City are up the other end and scoring the winner. So Nunes does bring that pace. I don't think he brings the genius of a Rodri, you know, of course he doesn't, or a Foden or a KDB, but he does bring the physicality, and it might be that we have to have that, you know, we have to bring him into the team. If it's not him, you know, Foden has to be back there ASAP, you know. We could hope, of course, that Gundogan finds another level, that Bernardo works well alongside maybe Foden, De Bruyne or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it is a case of stepping stones into midfield. I don't know what it is, but we do have midfield issues right now, and a lot of it is just simply down to, I would argue, our three best midfielders are currently just not in the team. Foden, De Bruyne, Rodri. I don't know how we're going to get to that. Maybe it's a January issue. I don't know, but there's a serious issue there, and we need to fix it. Second thing I want to talk about is a creativity issue. Now, this is obviously a question mark at the end of this for a reason. It's dramatic, but I think there's something to talk about here. I put no KDB, no Haaland. Now, I would like to draw your attention to this graph. KDB, see the red line there? That's where KDB played up to the first 4 games. There's Haaland's XG, expected goals, and there's his goals. Notice the bit where De Bruyne stopped playing. It's stark. Now, I think City are really struggling to create goals. Yeah, it doesn't look good. It's down. It's gone down since that shook me when I saw that. There's a definite correlation there. And I think City's form has been dipping a little bit, but without De Bruyne, we are not creating chances for Erling Haaland. He's 0 goals in his last 3 games, Premier League games, I think it is. I don't know. Someone correct me on that if that's wrong, but that's what the graph seems to imply. And his XG has dipped below 0.5 for the last 3 games, which is poor. He had an XG of 0.0 in the Wolves, so he didn't create any chances for him. You know, I mean, there's one way he had a shot where he scuffed it, and yeah, that wasn't great. And he could have got a shot away at one point when he went forward, but yeah, we can't ignore that. Like right now, currently, we are not finding a way to create chances without De Bruyne for Haaland. We really need to fix that. We need to fix it. Lord in the chat said McAtee is an only creator after KDB. McAtee actually is a better creator than people give him credit for. I'm with you on that, mate. I don't think he's their only one, but I think Foden has to be in the team. I personally feel like we have to find a way to create chances. I think Rico Lewis, I noticed Rico was nowhere near as high up the pitch in the Wolves game as he was been early on the season. Rico Lewis was doing 1-2s with Haaland at the start of the season. Rico not being as high. I think Grealish on the pitch could potentially help there. I think Savino isn't quite creating the volume of chances that you'd hope. Yeah, he's young, it's fine. But I think Foden being on the pitch as well. Look, we need to find creativity from somewhere. I don't know what it is. I am not a coach. I would guess a combination of, you know, maybe Grealish, Foden, hopefully De Bruyne returning or whatever. But we need to find a way, because that graph just speaks absolute volumes. If we're not creating chances for Haaland, right now we have not got goal scorers in this team. We need goal scorers. We just do. We do. And I don't think we have many in this team right now. I go through it. Doku's not a great goal scorer. Savinho might be one day, but in this current incarnation of a young guy just joined the Premier League, he isn't. Gundogan can be, but I don't think he's going to be right now. Kovacic, Bernardo aren't. Foden needs to be on the pitch, but he isn't. De Bruyne's not there. It's just Haaland, man. It's just Haaland and Gvardiol. That is it. We need to find a way to create goals. So no KDB, no Haaland. Currently, that's the narrative, and we need to improve it. I think Grealish is essential. And now I know this is going to divide people, but I think Grealish yesterday was easily our most productive attacker when he came on the pitch. I thought he had a really good cameo. I thought Grealish looks good. And what Grealish does, he's so good at getting up the pitch. The amount of times he just passes it into the area and picks someone out, he's really good at it. And he's currently playing with an impetus, Grealish, that I think right now, look, I think he created more chances on the pitch than anyone else in like 17 minutes or something like that, Grealish yesterday. He needs to be on the pitch, Jack Grealish, right now, because he helps us No mention of Alvarez. So, well, look, Victor. Well, I guess so. Yeah, but Alvarez is gone. So, I mean, we haven't replaced it. Yeah, I agree with that. We haven't replaced it, but it is what it is. We need to fix it. But yeah, Grealish. I think Grealish absolutely has to be in the team right now. That's not true, Iptris. He literally created a chance. So that's just simply not true. He did create a chance yesterday. And he got a couple of good crosses in, actually. So I don't know if you've remembered that wrong, mate. But there was one way he laid it back to someone who made... One of Sarr's good saves came from a Grealish pass. He did. That's a matter of fact. It did. So... I thought Grealish right now is essential. I think he is. I think he's in better form than Doku. I really like Doku. I do like Doku, but I feel like we need the balance. You know, we can't have Savinho and Doku both running at people constantly. I think Grealish is in good form right now. I think he's playing with confidence, and I do feel he was the most creative player on the pitch yesterday when he came on. I don't think that's even controversial. I think the stats prove it as well. And my eyes, to me, for the eye test for me, I think Grealish looks confident. I think he creates things. And I think right now, I mean, you could argue he's not good enough, but he's definitely a better bet right now, I would argue, than Doku. So there we go. I mean, look, here we go. I mean, Grealish's stats yesterday in 17 minutes. Look, 27 touches, 18 out of 19, 3 key passes. What Grealish is very good at is playing the overlapping pass or putting it back into the area. I thought he was really good yesterday. I thought he had a really good cameo, Jack Grealish, and I think he needs to be on the pitch. It's a better balance. And he picks people out, and I think that's what we really, really need. Brian, thank you so much for the super chat. Brian said with the super chat, yesterday was the best I've seen Grealish, those crosses. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen him better, but I agree he was good yesterday, mate. Thank you so much for the support. Massively appreciated. But I think Jack had a good game yesterday, and I think right now, I think he's just sort of needed for this team because... I think he sort of helps us as well stop the counter because he keeps the ball so well. So I just think he's the right choice right now. He's a bit of experience as well and a bit of know-how. We do have problems in transition. That is the current thing I want to talk about as well. City are so bad in the transition right now. We have problems in the transition for two reasons. One, we aren't physical enough. We cannot have the pace to get back. We don't have the... 3 reasons. We don't have the pace to get back. 2, we don't have anyone to read it well. Like, Gundogan, Kovacic, Bernardo, I'd even argue Nunes, all these people, they're not natural defensive players, and that's fine. It's not their role to be that. They just don't read danger very well. Kovacic has actually got a decent turn of pace. He has, Kovacic, but he just doesn't read danger very well because it's not his game. And the third reason that we have problems in transition is because our press has got really bad. Look at that goal. Like, how easily did Wolves break that press? And that comes down to a lack of structure, in the press. It comes down to a lack of physicality, a lack of organisation, maybe an age in midfield. There's no intensity. We are not swarming teams, and we're trying to do that. And so much of how Manchester City play about boxing teams in the area comes from being successful in the press. If you can't do that, we get hit in the counter, and we don't have the physicality to get back. We don't have the positional awareness to cover it. And we haven't got Kyle Walker at his best anymore. So our defensive hack in terms of like covering counter-attacks with Kyle Walker is just not a thing as much as it used to be. So we have got real issues there. Structurally, we don't have the midfield capabilities to stop it. We don't have the pace to get back. And I don't know. I actually don't know the solution. And we talk about Nunes having pace to get back. Yes, he does, but Nunes is not going to solve that on his own either. Like, Nunes might be an option there, but I really worry because I don't think we have the defensive acumen or the defensive intelligence in the team. Like, that to me is like Nunes. And this is not criticism because I know everyone's talking about Nunes, but Nunes, Bernardo, Kovacic, Gundogan, they are not defensive players. They have pace. Nunes has pace, yes, but he's not smart in the way that Rodri or Fernandinho is. That's not criticism, by the way. It's just not his game. I'm being fair there. I'm not going to criticise something that he shouldn't be expected to do. The way that Kovacic cannot be a number 6, really. They can do a job as a combination of players, but I think City's best still the best solution is penning the team in and pressing better, because we find out, if we find a way to press better and keep possession further up the pitch and pen the opposition in, then we won't have many problems in transition because it won't happen as much. But right now, we just can't do it, man. We can't do it, and we need to find a way to fix it, because I would argue it's a real big problem for this Manchester City side. Like, I am not a coach, but I can see it, and you guys can see it. Someone smarter than me will point out why it's not working, what to do. But I don't know the solution. But Pep is going to have to find a way to get people back and cover those runners. I would argue that our defence yesterday, that while not terrible, I would argue it's a little bit slow. I mean, I look at the defence there again. Gvardiol is brilliant, and I'm going to infuse about Gvardiol in a minute. But Gvardiol does not have counter-attacking pace, recovery pace, and that's not criticism. Neither does Ruben Dias, neither does John Stones, and Rico Lewis is not the slowest, but Rico Lewis is up there constantly near Gundogan and so on, and he's not always going to be the first to get back. I feel if we're not going to fix the midfield, we're going to have faster defenders on the pitch. And I know some of you won't want to hear this, but Kyle might have to be back in the team sometimes. But I also think away from Kyle, Ake, Akanji, those two have recovery pace. I really like Ake. I really do. I think Ake's a brilliant player. I think he brings seniority, experience, composure, but also physicality and a tenacity. You don't run away from Ake. That's why Saka struggles against him so much. I really want Ake and Akanji back in this tide until we fix that midfield issue, because that's our way to stop the counters at the very least with pace. If you've got a slow midfield and you've got a slow defence, you're fucked, man. And that's the best way I can put it. At least have a fast defence. And I know that might not be what everyone wants to hear, but I feel like we've got issues on the transition, and that's twofold, midfield and defence. Midfield is... The defensive capabilities are good, but we're not fast. And I feel like, you know, we're not playing to their... I don't blame Diaz, Gvardiol, Stones or Rico Lewis either. I blame the lack of support in front of it. But until we get that support right, we're going to have to find a way to compensate for it. Finally, I want to end on a high. Gvardiol continues to be brilliant, even though I've just said I don't think he has good covering pace. I don't think he does, but once again, it's not his problem. I think Gvardiol is a special footballer. I saw a great stat yesterday. I think he was the only guy. I can't find it. I need to find the stat, but it was brilliant. A stat about basically a combination of his achievements yesterday. He was the first player to do it in a decade, what he did yesterday. It was really, really impressive. Phenomenal footballer, Josko Gvardiol, getting better and better and better. And right now, if I'm being honest, we need him for his goals, not just his defensive capabilities. Because Gvardiol is coming clutch time and time again. I think he scored 7 goals for City, and 6 of them with his feet. And they've all been right-footed. Just ridiculous. Ridiculous from a very, very special player. Let me find the Gvardiol stat. Let me find it. Here we go. So there we go. Here's the Gvardiol stat. 1 goal, 3 chances created, 109 completed passes, 131 touches. He's the first player to put up those numbers in a single Premier League game this decade. Not defender, not midfielder, the first player, full stop. That is absurd. A special footballer, and he absolutely deserves his flowers, his roses, because he's so, so good. To have that ability on the ball as a defender, yeah, ridiculous. I just a little bit of prop for Gvardiol. I think he's a phenomenal footballer. I think he's adding so much to this Manchester City side. And I think it's a shame that he's having to drag City out so often, because he shouldn't be having to. It should be goals coming from more than a player who plays at our left back. But what a player, and what a left back. Yeah, it's only a quick bit about Gvardiol, but I feel like I needed to end this video on a high after a lot of negatives, which included the midfield issues persisting. I did go to a positive about Grealish being essential, in my opinion. No KDB, no Haaland. The stats show it right now. We're not creating chances for Haaland without KDB on the pitch. Problems in transition, but Gvardiol is brilliant. Guys, they're the 5 things I want to talk about. I know it's a negative video. I still want to draw attention to the positives. We are unbeaten still. He is cute as well. He's a good-looking fella, Gvardiol, to be fair. He's like me if I was better looking and a footballer. There you go. You know, in Croatian. There we go. But I do think, you know, in general, I think we need to remember where we are. This is very normal for Manchester City of these months. It feels like we're catastrophizing right now, and probably are. It does feel... I didn't even turn my... There we go. I didn't even turn my LEDs on. There we go. Last minute LED lights. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? We didn't... we do go through this every single year. Obviously, Rodri is a very different scenario. No, Rodri makes it different, and hopefully, returning Oscar Bobake, De Bruyne changes things. And it's a very normal winter thing for City to struggle. But as long as you keep winning, I'll be happy, guys. Thanks for watching this. Watch my match reaction from yesterday. Chin up. There will be a preview tomorrow, and of course, a watch along over on bigup.com for the Sparta Prague game. For now, though, in a bit, come on, you Blues. Still unbeaten. Still very good. It'll get better.